Welcome to the ChatGPT podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Each episode, we dive into the latest developments in the exciting field of artificial intelligence, exploring its applications and potential impacts on our daily lives. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. We just launched our AI Creators Discord community. If you're looking for a really kind of hands-on and innovative place to talk to other people making amazing things in AI, you need to join this community. Obviously, it's a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share prompts and software and tools that we're using to create really interesting use cases. We'd love to have you join and become part of the community. If you don't use Discord, there's also always the Facebook group. I'll link both of those down in the description. Today on the podcast, we are covering the fact that Amazon, or AWS, Amazon Web Service, is investing over $100 million into generative AI. They're creating a generative AI center. And essentially, this is a race to keep up with Microsoft and Google, who both are making some very big investments in this space. So today on the podcast, we're going to be covering what exactly is going down, what they're going to be spending that $100 million on, and where we see the industry going because of that. So the first thing to say is that Amazon's cloud unit said that it's going to be allocating this money to help companies use AI essentially in competition directly to OpenAI, who has obviously launched ChatGPT. I think it's a pretty small investment for a company that has $64 billion in cash on hand. And also, if you think about it, this is a company that has $500 billion in operating expenses every year. So, this is relatively small compared to some of these other figures. But that being said, I think that this announcement really shows that AWS is recognizing the significance of what is happening in the industry right now with generative AI and the importance of this to their customer base, which I think is a big move, especially when they're now competing quite directly alongside Microsoft and Google for these web services, for servers. AWS is obviously competing against Microsoft's Azure, who has integrated quite a lot of really powerful AI offerings on their platform, right? We see OpenAI is using Microsoft's Azure platform to do all of their training. Obviously, this is because Microsoft put a $10 billion investment into OpenAI, and so that really, I don't want to say tied their hands, but OpenAI doesn't really have a choice. But that being said, I've actually heard that Microsoft Azure has been a really good partner for OpenAI. They built some very specialized, they've spent over $1 billion on one of their supercomputers to help train AI on their platform. And so I think AWS is seeing if they don't make some big steps in this arena, Microsoft very easily is going to scoop up a lot of the competition. Even myself, as I'm looking at developing different tools in the AI space, Microsoft's Azure platform is very compelling. It's very tempting because they have a lot of different credits, a lot of different offerings, and they have quite some really awesome integrations on their platform. So obviously, this is a big move for AWS. On the Microsoft front, they're seeing that go down with OpenAI. And on the Google front, Google has been courting to their cloud platform companies like Anthropic, which is seen as essentially the number 2 company after OpenAI for ChatGPT-like services. And they gave Anthropic a $300 million deal, which, also means that Anthropic is going to be building on top of the Google Cloud platform. So I think AWS knows that if they'd like to continue to court people and keep their customers happy, they need to make steps in this and investments into this AI space. So the AWS CEO, his name is Adam Selipsky. So he recently said in an interview with CBN, you ask yourself the question, where are the different runners 3 steps into a 10-kilometer race? Does it really matter? The point is they're 3 steps in and it's a 10-kilometer race. What he's trying to say here, which I think is interesting, and I love the spin, is essentially it would appear as though Microsoft is taking the lead here, right? They got OpenAI on board. It would appear that Google's making big steps. They got Anthropic on board. You don't really see any of these big headliner companies making big announcements with AWS at the moment. So AWS, instead of saying, oh no, we're getting beat, they're just like, hey, it doesn't really matter. It's a 10-kilometer race. We're only 3 steps in. So, us starting now isn't that big of a deal. I like their spin. We'll see how true it is, or if the first mover advantage of those 3 steps really has cemented something for Microsoft. That being said, Bill Gates, right, the original creator of Microsoft, he did recently say that he believes there's a 50-50 chance that the winner in this kind of personal AI assistant chatbot, ChatGPT space, he said there's a 50% chance. This goes to a startup that is not Microsoft backed, aka he thinks there's a 50% chance that someone could come out and beat OpenAI. That's an interesting concept, and maybe that plays to AWS's favor, and that that startup hasn't picked a provider yet, and they'll be able to move over to AWS and be the big winner, and it will be a big play for AWS. It's left to be seen. As part of this latest announcement, Amazon has said that it's going to be adding some data scientists, a bunch of engineers, and some solutions architects to their payroll. AWS said that they're actually already working with a few companies in this AI space. They highlighted specifically HighSpot, Twilio, Ryanair, and Lonely Planet. And they told CNBC recently that essentially what they're doing, it's a program rather than a physical center. So up until this point, Amazon has essentially beat out Microsoft and Google in the whole business of renting out servers with their AWS and also with data storage, and a lot of other organizations. They use AWS as kind of the lead cloud infrastructure market. But those rivals of Microsoft and Google right now have a lot people are calling it splashier entrances into generative AI, right? You're seeing these are big plays. AWS has OpenAI. And I don't think that this means Amazon is completely out of the game though yet, because Amazon has been working with AI for a number of years, right? You see within their shopping recommendations, that's a big thing within their Amazon, Alexa's voice assistant. They have made some big investments into AI. And I think that they have some skin in the game. I think they have the ability, they have the team to be a big player in this space, more than we've really seen them up until this point. So Microsoft has been spending billions on multi-layered alliances with OpenAI. Google is also beyond just, Google obviously has an investment in Anthropic, but beyond just that, they're also moving to deploy all sorts of AI tools into their built-in, every single Google tool. At Google I/O recently, they announced there's going to be some sort of AI integration or feature there. So I think that these companies, Microsoft and Google, have very ingrained pathways in this industry, and AWS is starting to kind of forge their pathway, and this is the first step for them. I think that the fact that Amazon doesn't really have the first popular large language model that can essentially compete with something like ChatGPT does not play into their favor. And Slipsky said that's the CEO of AWS. He said he's not concerned. He joined AWS back in 2005, and that was actually a year before the launch of AWS. So he joined Amazon. And that was before AWS's core service for computing and storage really launched. And he, echoing Jeff Bezos, he said that the company has succeeded by listening to their customers. He said Amazon has had many examples in its history where it said, we're going to focus on our customers and have steadfast beliefs that we're going to work with customers, we're going to build what they want. And then he also said, and if people want to perceive us in a certain way, we're misunderstood, that's okay, as long as customers understand what we're doing. So one challenge that I think they're going to be facing right now if they want to jump into this AI space, obviously their customers are interested in this. And if they really want to get into the space, I think it's going to be, the demand for AI chips. So Amazon actually chose to start building their own chips to supplement graphics that they were previously buying from NVIDIA and probably still are buying a lot from NVIDIA. And so both companies right now, NVIDIA and Amazon, are, racing to get more supply to the market. Right now there's more demand, and so then there is supply, so the prices are skyrocketing. You can see that with the fact that NVIDIA's, market cap went over $1 trillion because the demand for these AI chips and GPUs are so high. So Amazon is actually trying to build their own in addition to that, which I think is, that plays to them. I think something that Slipsky said was also pretty important. He said, I think the whole world has a shortage in terms of compute capacity for doing generative AI and machine learning in general right now. And so I think that people are really kind of impatient with this, but over the next few months, I believe, and also Slipsky believes, that the price of this will come down. What I actually think is interesting here is that he put a time frame on this. He said he believes that in the next couple months or the next few months, he believes that the price of this compute, these GPUs and everything is going to come down. I think that's interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of people racing to sell them. These things are, worth their weight in gold. And Slipsky is also kind of at the moment, I think what they're facing is the fact that there is a big slowdown in customer spending on cloud. A lot of businesses are kind of preparing for some sort of ongoing economic uncertainty. He said a lot of customers are largely through their cost optimizations, but there have been other customers who are still right in the middle of it. It's hard to predict exactly when that particular trend will be over, but we are still in the middle of it. And so I think what's happening is AWS and Amazon are seeing that a lot of these large companies are cutting down on cloud costs. They're cutting down on what they're doing and trying to cut their costs. And so in a space where obviously AI is booming and people are spending more there, they're spending less on other things. I think AWS knows they really have to make a strong pivot. They really have to have strong resources and new tools in the AI space, whether that's, chips or that are integrated into their platform or software, in order to entice these customers back. Otherwise, Microsoft and Google are going to kind of hit them twice as hard. So I think still the AI trend is real. He said that for Amazon, the momentum applies to its Bedrock generative AI services and its Titan models, as well as to this new innovation center. So he believes that those have a lot of momentum behind it. He said AI is going to be the next wave of innovation in the cloud. It's going to be the next big thing that pushes even more customers to want to be in the cloud. Really, you need the cloud for generative AI. He also kind of sees AWS as providing sort of a measure of credibility and offering generative AI that eludes others in the space. He said, I can't tell you how many Fortune 500 companies I've talked to who've banned ChatGPT in the enterprise, because at least the initial version of it just didn't have the concept of enterprise security. And so I think right now the solution for that, right, a lot of people have banned ChatGPT, Samsung, JP Morgan Chase, a lot of other companies have banned ChatGPT. And the reasoning behind it is they're saying, they're telling their employees, don't put anything confidential in there because it gets sent over to, people at OpenAI to manually review. It can be leaked. It's not secure. So the solution to this, I believe, has already been created by Microsoft, and that is that they have, they have exclusive servers where they allow your company to run a version of ChatGPT exclusively for your company. It's on your own server. Nothing leaves the server. Whatever inputted is not used for training, and that is your own kind of usage of ChatGPT. Microsoft is offering this on their Azure platform. So I believe that this problem has been solved. AWS inevitably is going to try to solve that as well by perhaps allowing you to run ChatGPT or more likely other AI models on their on your own cloud instances to kind of protect your company. So at least AWS is thinking about this. I believe the problem to some degree has been solved, but it's definitely an area that I think AWS and Amazon can make a play and could probably make a lot of money by really luring in some of those large, lucrative corporate clients. The innovation in AI right now is absolutely exploding. If you want to stay on top of all the insane disruptions and innovation that's happening right now, you need to subscribe to our newsletter on AIbox.ai. We send you daily everything that is happening, the news and the crazy advancements in AI technology straight to your inbox for free every single day. So go to AIbox.ai, subscribe, and stay ahead of the curve on the world of AI. You've been listening to the ChatGPT podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts and have a fantastic week.